From the bond market to the housing market, also tonight, growing calls to pull the plug on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. House Republicans are pushing efforts to unwind Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac from the government. With more on this, Republican Congressman Randy Neugebauer, chairman of the Housing and Insurance Subcommittee. Congressman Neugebauer, thanks for coming back on the show. It's always good to see you. Now, tell me why you believe it's so important to unwind these GSEs.
Well, Jerry, first of all, thanks for having me back on the program. Well, what happened after 2008, we basically have nationalized the housing finance market in this country. 9 out of every 10 mortgages in this country now are guaranteed by the American taxpayers. If we're going to have a good, strong housing market in the future, we have to have a sustainable housing finance market. And right now, the government is in control of the housing finance market.
That's right. Well, I was looking at numbers over the weekend, and apparently when you consider the GSEs, Fannie and Freddie, and the FHA together, they're guaranteeing 85% of the market, or standing behind 99% of all the loans. So let's see now. We had all the reform from Dodd-Frank. We had $200 billion to bail out this Fannie and Freddie. And where are we? The government still controlling this marketplace. How do you unwind these two massive institutions?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 things here. One, we're going to bring FHA back to its more traditional role. Today, FHA has higher lending limits than the GSEs are, so we're going to bring back them to the traditional levels of first-time home buyers and low to moderate income. Then the other is we're going to start to wind down the GSEs, Freddie and Fannie, and at the same token, then creating some space then for the private label and private investment to come back into the housing finance market. Doing these 3 things will make a more sustainable housing finance market for this country.
Congressman, how much time do you give Fannie and Fred? Because a lot of people out there, critics of the idea of winding these 2 institutions down, say you can't get rid of them pronto because the housing market would collapse. What do you say?
That's not true. The housing market is getting better, and what we're talking about doing is making some adjustments to the housing finance market. We're not talking about cutting off all the housing finance, but we are going to bring the private market back. We think that will bring more competition into the market. We think that ultimately that begins better pricing for homeowners, and which is obviously helps with home ownership.
Well, that's all what we're looking for, right? Is to help out homeowners and not be a drag on the market as ultimately these government agencies were. I've got to tell you, if you look at what voters say out there, they're behind you. 52% in favor of phasing out Fannie and Freddie. They don't like it. 32% oppose the idea. Here's what I don't understand. Every report I've read about your bill says it's going to go nowhere. Why, when the American people stand right behind you?
Well, I think those people that say it's going nowhere need to understand just what you just said, and that is that the American people are behind this. You know what happens? The American people are tired of these booms and busts, and it hurts homeowners and it hurts taxpayers. And what happens when we have these is that we've got these hardworking Americans that are making their own house payment. Then they find out they're going to have to make their neighbor's house payment. They don't think that's a good idea.
No, they don't. They don't think it's a good idea at all. I want to talk to you about something that's in Washington that I think could be a problem going forward for the housing market, and that's Melvin Watt. He is the the Democratic congressman from North Carolina who may run FHA. He's been proposed by the administration. He'd take the place of Ed DeMarco. Is this a good idea, or is Melvin Watt and his history of being outspoken about expanding home ownership, is that a bad thing?
Well, first of all, I want to say Mr. DeMarco has done an outstanding job. And, I'm sorry to see that the administration has decided to replace Mr. DeMarco. He buys into the fact that Freddie and Fannie need to begin to wind down. He understands that guaranteeing all of these mortgages is not in the best interest, And so if I had my first choice, while I serve on the Financial Services Committee with Mr. Watt, I certainly think Mr. DeMarco has done an outstanding job.
Well, I got to tell you, a lot of ideas that were proposed, kind of numbskull ideas from the administration on housing, were turned down by Ed DeMarco. We won't have that stop anymore once he goes. So it's a shame. Congressman Neugebauer, thanks for coming on the show. Good luck with your bill.